Welcome to a special story written originally by Kenneth Harley many years ago. It's entitled The Assassin's Easter Prayer. This is a violent story, so if you have children, you may want to cover their ears. Jack, a CIA operative for the USA government, was assigned by his handler, Mr. Spark, to go to a building that faced central Paris, where President Francois was going to be giving an address. It was Easter time, and the visiting Catholic authorities were going to be at the speech, and it was a very big to-do, a very big event. Jack was supposed to assassinate the president. So he got out his gun and he put it together, and he was getting ready to shoot, but he heard a shot come out of the room next to him before he could even shoot. And then he saw the president fall. And before he knew it, there was a group of police officers that broke through the door in his room and started hitting him with batons and beating him and cursing him in French. Jack was beaten, bedraggled, kind of like our Savior on Good Friday, and taken to jail. They put him in a Marseille jail on a river, one of the newfangled, inescapable prisons, and they put him in the bottom of the jail. It smelled like rats and goat cheese and, as they say, dirty knees. And Jack sat there confused, a broken man with a broken face, and didn't know what to do. All of a sudden he heard keys rankling and footsteps come down the corridor. And there was a white man with a little white beard goatee, and he had kind of long white hair. He wore kind of a little suit, with a tie, kind of pinstripe suit. And he said, "My name is Jean-Paul Francois, and I will release you." So he walked with Jean-Paul Francois, and he said, "Jack, I need you to trust me. I need you to listen to me. Something is coming up very important for you. Get in the car with me, and we're taking you to our special plane to get you out of the country. You need to go home to your little town of Blue Lantern, Minnesota, and visit your family." Jack didn't understand, tried to ask who he was, but he really couldn't say anything. He just sat there, looked, felt kind of broken. When they got to the airport, he got on the plane. Jean-Paul Francois gave him a little tiny bottle. And Jack said, "What is this for?" And Jean-Paul Francois said, "Take a little drink. Once an hour for the next 5 hours, you will start to feel better." So Jack got into the airplane. There was a nice, beautiful flight attendant, and she said, "Hello, sir. Would you like some champagne?" And Jack said, I don't know, how about just a mineral water? I need to keep my head clear. He took a drink of the bottle and started to feel warm. About an hour later, he woke up from a little sleep. He took another drink of the bottle. While Jack was sleeping, he had a dream of visiting his town in Minnesota and seeing his ex-girlfriend, Julie Simpson. And they were walking along the river on a summer afternoon, and they were holding hands and they were smiling. And he remembered that was when they first met each other many years before. Jack fell asleep again. He dreamed again of going to meet Julie and seeing his brother and sister and going to visit their old church. When Jack awoke, the plane had landed at the Minnesota airport, and he got out. There was a man right there and put him in a limousine and took him to his town. When he got there, he visited his family house, and his brother and his sister, Jimmy and Suzanne, they said, "Jack, why didn't you answer our messages?" And he said, I was involved with the military. I couldn't get to you. They said, you do know our mother passed away finally. Last year, she was really hoping to see you before she passed away. She was battling lymphoma cancer." And Jack shed a little bit of a tear, said, "I'm sorry." Jack then had a surprise visit. About an hour later, after he had changed, took a shower, and was starting to have dinner, he saw his ex-girlfriend. And after their dinner, it was still not quite early evening, just starting the sun to go down, and they went over to the church. And Jack said, "It's been so long since we all have been at the church. Do you remember the times we would play when the preacher was preaching, and we would try to make fun of him? Our mother would hit us." And they laughed and told a few stories. And then all of a sudden, they heard the door open, and they thought it might be the minister. How did they get into the church? Well, Miss Simpson, Jack's girlfriend, had a key. She played in the church sometimes. All of a sudden, they saw their old teacher, Mr. Jorgensen. And Mr. Jorgensen said, "Hello, what are you doing here?" And then all of a sudden, he opened a case. It looked like a billiard case or maybe a clarinet case. It was getting a little dark, so they didn't see. And all of a sudden, he pulled out a gun and he started firing at Jack and his sister and his brother and his ex-girlfriend, Miss Simpson. He started going pop 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 pop. And Jack, while that was going on, he was trying to protect everybody. He had a gun in his pocket that he was allowed to bring in secretly because he was a military man. And John Paul Francois said, "Do not touch your gun." He appeared to Jack immediately, quickly, in an instant. "Do not touch your gun. Trust me." So Mr. Jorgensen's going, ba 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 ba. Everybody was hiding under the church pews. And Jack stood up and shot or tried to shoot Mr. Jorgensen. Boom, 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 with his Magnum 44. Mr. Jorgensen shot at Jack and hit Jack 3 times in the stomach. Jack reacted to the shot and fell down to the ground. He heard sirens from the neighboring police and ambulance. Whew, 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 whew. People came in. The police had guns. And Jack woke up a few hours later after having surgery. And the policeman said, "You were the only survivor in the shooting. What was going on?" And Jack looked at him and said, "My family and I visited the church after dinner. We said a prayer and asked God to help us have a better life. And Mr. Jorgensen came in. We didn't know why or how he knew we were there. And he started shooting us." The police said, inside this man's case, it said, United States Central Intelligence Agency. And it didn't have Mr. Jorgensen. It had Jonah Jenkins. And Jack was confused. And he started to feel really horrible and dark. And he was hurting. A few minutes later, he had a vision of John Paul Francois. "You were sent to the church so that you and your family could make peace with God. Jack, if you would have listened to me and trusted me, you never would have gotten shot in the stomach. But your family and Miss Simpson, your ex-girlfriend, whom you love, it was their time to go to heaven. And you saved their lives." Jack Armstrong fell asleep. And when he woke up, there was a young woman sitting next to him. He remembered her from school. Her name was Eva. And she said, "Jack, I heard about this tragedy. You remember your sister and I were best friends. I'm here to try to make sure you're okay." The end.